With details on a WWE contract and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Sharing his thoughts on the upcoming match between NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez and Julia, Booker T noted on his Hall of Fame podcast, "It's all about being tested." We are going to see exactly how good Julia really is on the first. We know how good Roxanne Perez is. Her confidence right now is through the roof. She's as good as I've ever seen her perform right now, and that's what's scary. That's scary because I know she's got so much more learning to do. I know her in-ring IQ is only going to go up from here. Her in-ring ability is only just going to get better from this perspective. She works inside those parameters to where she's one step ahead all the time. I don't know a whole lot about Julia. We're going to find out a whole lot about Julia if she can really go and really hang with the prodigy. We know about Roxanne Perez. No one expected Roxanne Perez through all the ashes and be the one. No one saw that rose rising up through the concrete and blossoming right there in the middle of I-45. That's Roxanne Perez. No one saw that coming. Did I see that coming? I did. From day one, Roxanne Perez at Fantasy Camp showed me how bad she wanted it. When she became a part of Reality of Wrestling, I was in awe of her talent and her work ethic. Then for her to make it to the next level so quick and become ROH's first women's champion, that right there is a statement in itself. Breakout tournament winner, Iron Survivor, two-time NXT Women's Champion. She's got a Hall of Fame career already. If she retired today, she'd be going into the Hall of Fame. Addressing rumors that he and John Cena have issues, Batista said this to Chris Van Vliet: "I get along with John Cena. I really respect John a lot more than people think I do for some reason. I think the internet and fans have built this rivalry between us, which really isn't." As Raw is set to move to Netflix next year, Billy Body said this on his Dirty Sheets podcast about plans for John Cena in WWE. John Cena is going to be on Netflix full time. He's going to be on Raw and is there to soften the blow regarding the promises not being kept initially about The Rock and Roman Reigns appearing on Netflix as part of the Raw brand. They are set to appear on the USA Network on SmackDown instead. We'll see how they get around that. Maybe Netflix will accept John Cena as a solid replacement for the entire year of 2025, during which he is scheduled to make 35 appearances for WWE. Recalling the departure and return of Cody Rhodes to WWE, Kevin Owens told CBS Sports, "Cody left in 2016 and it sucked. It sucked to lose my friend. I really wanted him to have the best possible introduction to the independent scene because he had never been around and never done that. He had been in the WWE system for so long. The independent scene is a whole different ballgame from the WWE. I just guided him in the right direction and put him in touch with people. I knew what he was capable of, and he really wanted to show people what he already saw in himself. He succeeded. That's an understatement. It's great to see him get all of his flowers and see the position he's in now." Mentioning plans for Cody Rhodes as WWE Champion, Bill Body said this on the Wrestling Informer podcast: "The plan is still for Kevin Owens to eventually turn on Cody Rhodes. WWE are going to attempt to get a pay-per-view out of this match between Cody and Kevin Owens, so that is the direction going forward." When it comes to the thoughts of WWE talent on the upcoming Netflix docuseries on Vince McMahon, which is set to cover the sexual misconduct allegations, Ringside News wrote that sources within WWE have indicated to Fightful Select that the decision to address the allegations up front may be a strategic move to deflect criticism from interviewees who spoke highly of McMahon before the 2022 allegations surfaced. I don't think at this point anyone should care about the life and times of Vince McMahon above the legal situation he's in, said a WWE talent of over a decade, reflecting a growing sentiment within the company. In fact, according to over a dozen WWE employees, ranging from talent to executives, the feeling was unanimous. They're ready to distance themselves from McMahon. However, it's unclear if those not directly spoken to share the same views. Fightful also reached out to the spokesperson for Janelle Grant, one of the individuals tied to the lawsuit, about her involvement in the docuseries. The spokesperson confirmed that Netflix's documentary group had initially reached out for an interview, but no further contact was made, leading to the interview not coming to fruition. Despite requests for clarification, no additional details were provided regarding the lack of follow-up. As for the trailer, WWE sources believe the line where McMahon claims he's not a bad guy is a deliberate attempt to stir conversation around the upcoming series, sparking more curiosity and controversy. WWE has not yet issued any official comments on the trailer or the docuseries itself. Reacting to a photo that was leaked before an episode of Raw where superstars were seen in and near the ring, former commentator for the company Jim Ross said this about it on his Grilling JR podcast. "Somebody's a chicken, quite frankly. It's just unprofessional and has no place. Whoever did it should be fired, simple as that. Shouldn't go to HR, just say, look, we're done. You broke a rule that is important to maintain." That picture is very revealing. It tells multiple stories. It's unique as you can see all the talent hanging around. That's kind of a typical thing. Everybody's going through their paces, talking, trying to get their timing together, all those things. So it's daunting. I don't like it. I don't like when things like that happen. As Bret Hart made his return to WWE for an appearance on Raw in Calgary, Alberta, he would have an interaction backstage with the head of creative Triple H.
Thanks, Fred. That was great. You feel good? That was great. That was awesome. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, feel good? Really good. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Talking about Kevin Kelly's lawsuit against AEW, where it is said that the company improperly classifies talent as independent contractors as opposed to employees. WWE Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam gave his thoughts on this, saying on his one-of-a-kind podcast, "I'm going against the grain, I'm thinking different. I'm not conforming to everybody else. Some people will tell me without even asking, they just assume, man, you know, that's not fair how you guys get treated. You get treated like employees with a job, but then they don't pay you like employees. That ain't right." And I'm like, hey, boundaries, bro. Don't start telling me you get my perspective when you haven't even heard it. Being an independent contractor, when you're an employee for a place, you work for an employer, you get paid by the hour or whatever, then they take out the taxes. Federal for retirement, blah, blah, blah. You get 1 week off, vacation, whatever the terms are that come with the job as an employee. When you're an independent contractor, basically, you're your own boss. You set the terms on an agreement with somebody, and then you honor those terms. I've always enjoyed doing business like that. And I always say this to people, if you're not with me, listen to this because it usually wins everybody over. Would you rather work for me, get paid X amount of money, and I'll pay your insurance, you'll be my employee, or would you rather get double that amount of money, be an independent contractor, and take care of your own insurance? That usually wins people over. They usually say, whoa, yeah, I'd rather be able to shop for myself and judge my own coverage and the value value of what the money versus coverage is. Well, guess what? When you're an independent contractor, that's how it goes. You take care of yourself. You set up your own different bank accounts where you've got to put money away for this, money for that. You know what's considered expenses, what you have to spend on your job to make that money back. I've always enjoyed that. And you know, the insurance is a big factor because people think if you're an employee, then you get insurance. But also, if as an independent contractor, I sign a 3-year deal with somebody and say, hey, you know what? This is a deal breaker. I need you to cover my insurance. Well, guess what? They would cover it. If I say, hey, I need to have a bus, they're going to cover it or they're not. That's negotiating. A lot of wrestlers have a bus that WWE pays for, and that's because as independent contractors, they worked that into their terms. Now, if we were all employees, when we all get buses, or at least at a certain level, you know, when you reach whatever level it is that these guys are past, wouldn't everyone get treated a little more fairly? Maybe. But we live in a capitalist society, so personally, I'm not for equal treatment. I think unions tend to equalize everybody at a rate that I don't necessarily want to give up. Personally, if it ends up better for everybody else and I'm moving on and all the young guys are coming up, if it's really better for everyone else to be employees and then fill out, I don't even know what you fill out, a W-9 or whatever at the end of the year when you're an employee, and then have somebody give you your schedule, your days off, whatever it is. If that works better in the future, I wouldn't want to stop anybody from being able to achieve that upgrade in life. But for me, whatever you need, put it on the agreement. If I am a single repairman, a roof guy, and I'm working on your house and we sign a contract and then I tell you I'm going to finish your job within 12 months and you agree to it, but then say I don't want you working for anybody else, doing anyone else's roof until you get mine done, I say okay, I'll agree to that too. Guess what? Those are just terms. We don't all need the same terms. We certainly don't all get paid anywhere near the same, and should we? It's the entertainment business. Do we all have equal value? It's hard to compare when you're talking about who's selling tickets, who are people happier to see, who's keeping people from turning the channel versus those that fans don't care about but are needed to fill spots. We can't pay them as much as others, can we? There's so much to it. I've always loved being an independent contractor and taking care of myself. I feel like if you're responsible, that's a better way for you. That's the way I've always looked at it. Love to hear anybody talk on that and talk against it. But if unions were around, would they just be in WWE and AEW? The wrestling business is so much bigger than that. There are so many organizations, groups, shows that we don't even know about that never even make TV. Would unions cover Bobby Fulton's Big Time Wrestling in Chillicothe, Ohio? I doubt it. When it comes to plans for Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton, Bill Body said this on his Dirty Sheets podcast. Tiffany Stratton is walking around with the pink Money in the Bank briefcase, but she is currently in line to face Charlotte Flair. That match is penciled in for the WrestleMania program for the Women's Championship on SmackDown. Asked if Logan Paul is one of the boys in the WWE locker room, Kevin Nash said this on his Click This podcast. He's not one of the boys. Where would he learn that at? Where is he going up and down the road talking about our jargon? In the building, everybody's in their own motor coach. There's no interaction. There's no socialization. You don't become one of the boys just because you're around them. That MFer, from what I heard, he's making like $5 million for a limited, and those MFers are out there making house shows. I don't give a damn how many people are following you. If it said you had 24 million Rhodes scholars following you, MFer man, I would be like, dude, you are Jesus. You got a bunch of idiots. Paul then posted this clip to X in response.
I got people messaging me. They're like, yo, Kevin Nash is talking shit about you. I said, damn. Who is Kevin Nash? And I mean that. I'm unfamiliar with this guy, which I think is his problem. I'm not as versed in the WWE and in wrestling as maybe I should be, as my peers are. But then how am I so much better than all of them? You know, I don't have the answers to these questions. It is a question. I don't know how I could be the best in the WWE or at least one of the best. Like, I'm surely a top fiver, and I don't even do it full time. Now imagine if I did learn a little bit. Imagine if I devoted, became one of the boys. Learn what the difference between a shoot and a work was. Will that make me a champion? Fuck me? Fuck you. You're one of the old guys who is bitter that I am better at your job than you ever were. And that makes you pathetic. This will be my sport, and I will continue to make guys like you eat your words when I devote a little bit of time to it. So fuck me, fuck you.
A petition has now been started to demand that AEW programming be terminated for being disturbing and harmful. It reads, I am drafting this petition out of a personal concern. As a horrified viewer, I witnessed AEW broadcasts involving graphic depictions of violence and murder, including a scene where a man was suffocated on live TV and another where a hypodermic needle was thrust into a man's face. The fact that children are a part of this viewing audience adds an alarming dimension to these incidents that makes this issue even more pressing. We all know that pro wrestling is fake and scripted. We all know the performers are performing these actions. This does not make what they're doing okay. They promote their product as being real. They do not post any disclaimers. They tell us it is real. Therefore, they want us to believe that Bryan Danielson was suffocated with a plastic bag, something that happens in real life and not for the amusement of the AEW sickos. That is what Tony Khan, son of billionaire Shad Khan, who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. Our fears don't end with the suffocation they promote. The show further promotes racism and violence towards women, sending damaging messages about tolerance and respect for all individuals, regardless of race or gender. However, it's not just my personal view that's at stake here. Studies indicate that exposure to violent media can have lasting effects on children, affecting their attitude towards violence and their ability to empathize with others, American Psychological Association. Moreover, broadcasting racist and misogynistic content fuels harmful stereotypes and normalizes violent behavior, contradicting the societal progress made towards equality and respect. It's time we step forward to protect our children and uphold our community values. By allowing AEW to continue airing such content, we send the message that violence, racism, and misogyny are acceptable. This is unacceptable and a disservice to our society. Therefore, I call upon broadcasting regulatory bodies, TV networks, and advertisers that support the AEW programming to reconsider their approach and put a stop to content that's both damaging and destructive. Please join me in signing this petition to demand the immediate termination of AEW due to its disturbing and harmful content. Going over a star on WWE Raw that is injured, Ringside News wrote that according to PW Insider sources, the rising WWE star Kiana James has suffered a leg injury and could be out of action for as long as 6 months. Earlier reports noted that Kiana James had been shifted to the miscellaneous category on WWE's internal roster, but there was no explanation until now. The injury comes as a setback for James, who was drafted to WWE Raw earlier this year and had made appearances in backstage segments as well as competing in 2 matches on Raw in June of 2024. In some news last night, WWE announced this regarding Raw, set to be a 2-hour program. Writing on X, Raw will be on USA Network from 8 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern starting on Monday, October 7th, and through the rest of 2024, culminating with the USA Network finale on Monday, December 30th. WrestleVotes added that regarding the news of Raw switching to 2 hours for the rest of the year, I've heard that many production and social staff who worked behind the scenes found out in real time, just like the rest of us. As for what this means for 2025 and Netflix, one source said WWE is eagerly anticipating the freedom to vary runtimes as needed. No firm decision has been made either way. Mentioning Randy Orton's WWE contract situation, Bill Body said this on the Dirty Sheets podcast. For Randy Orton, with his new contract, I previously mentioned that if he renews for another term at his $4 million downside guarantee, which is what he is paid, he will become the highest paid wrestler in WWE, and that's what happened. This does not include what The Rock earns from Hollywood, as that is not paid out of WWE's budget. We are focusing on what WWE is paid directly with his new new contract, Orton is set to receive an additional guaranteed $20 million from WWE. Orton is not a huge merchandise seller. He scoops up about an additional $1 million to $1.5 million with his bonuses. This will be a roundabout contract earning like $25 to $30 million additionally, making him the first wrestler in WWE history to surpass the $100 million mark in earnings from the company. This makes Orton the highest paid wrestler of all time in WWE. We are not talking about what people made overall, so Hulk Hogan suing Gawker doesn't count. Rock and Cena with their movies do not count. We are talking about what the WWE has paid to you. As of now, Randy Orton, this doesn't include Triple H either because he has a different contract and share investments. Orton will be higher than Hogan, Cena, Orton, Roman, Undertaker, anyone else in history. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.